Hello, beautiful souls. I am Michelle McCoy, and this is going to be my documentary vlog of my healing journey from a really bad tailbone injury that I had 2 weeks ago today. So I'll just tell you a little bit about how it happened. I was hiking. I love hiking. I do a lot of it. I live in Mountain Home, Arkansas, which is just surrounded by beautiful nature trails and campsites and waterfalls, and the outdoors is my church, and it just, my time in nature and my solitude just renews me. I've been doing it for years. So 2 weeks ago, I was out hiking to one of my favorite spots, Three Spring Falls. It's about 45-minute drive from my house, and I had been there many times before. It's beautiful. It's covered with all of these wildflowers and these beautiful rock formations, and three waterfalls right next to each other. And I went there and had a wonderful day, meditating and exploring and taking pictures and doing yoga and hooping, which are my two other loves, movement meditations. And every time I've been there, I've always only been to the top of the waterfall. And somebody told me about a trail that you can follow to get to the bottom of the waterfall. So I was like, today I'm gonna do that. So I'm following this trail down to the waterfall, and I've done some pretty intense hiking trails before. It was a little intense. There were some areas where you kind of had to like climb down some roots. I always travel with safety gear and a Garmin, which allows me to send my location to my husband. He follows my hikes. When there's no service, we can still text back and forth, and there's an SOS button on it. I always bring first aid equipment with me when I'm hiking alone, which is most of the time. So I get down to the bottom of the waterfall, and it's just gorgeous. I'm just soaking it all in. I come in from the side of the waterfall, and I decide that I want to cross the water at the bottom. The water was like this deep, to get in front of the waterfall to get a better view. So I'm doing that and being careful, and nature is just unforgiving. I stepped in the wrong place and I fell really hard on my butt. It was a pain unlike any other. I don't know how to explain it. And it wasn't just the weight of my body, but it was the weight of all of my equipment that I was carrying. I had like a 30-pound backpack on, tons of food and water bottles, and my filming equipment, because I often shoot my hoop tutorials out in nature. It was very traumatic, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It was terrible. When that happened, I kind of just had to take a moment to just sit there for a few minutes and catch my breath and just kind of process what had just happened. And at that time, I didn't really understand the intensity of it. I just thought it was something I could, shake off, and the pain would be gone that night. There was a waterfall next to it that had this big pool of cool water at the bottom, and I just remember thinking, I need to get in that pool to get some sort of relief on my butt, my tailbone area. So I stripped down and I got in that pool of water, and it felt so good. And I just remember thinking, I don't want to get out. I don't want to hike back up. I don't want to drive home. It's too painful. And I just kind of got in this mindset, like, I have to do this. I need to get home. So I did, and hiking back up to my car, every step of the way was excruciating pain in my tailbone region, down both legs. It was hard to breathe. It was terrible. I had to drag all my equipment back up to my car. I drove home. It was painful just to sit in my car, and I got home, and that was when it kind of started to set in that this was more of a serious injury than I initially had thought. So that was the event that led to where I'm at now. And just to give you a little bit of my backstory, I've been hooping for 6 years. I own a business, Autumn Flow, which sells hula hoops, and I create online courses for people who want to learn hoop dance. And one of my greatest callings in life is to offer inspiration, encouragement, and support to people. And that's something that I discovered through my business and my hula hooping. So that's something that has really brought me tremendous joy over the years, is using my business to offer inspiration, and then also encouraging people to get outside and explore nature and the great outdoors, and to hike and just like get in touch with the beautiful gifts that nature has to offer. And then I also had started my yoga journey 6 months ago. I immediately fell in love with it and just jumped into my practice with so much passion and dedication. And I progressed so quickly. Just in 6 months, I practiced like an hour a day. I couldn't wait for my yoga practice each day. And it was just like another form of my movement therapy. So when this injury happened, my life was turned upside down. My life has always evolved around movement through hiking and hooping and yoga and roughhousing with my kids. I got 2 little boys who are 6 and 4, and trying to keep up with them, and going on adventures with my husband. And all of a sudden, I couldn't do any of that, and it broke my heart. I was broken. I still am. And the first week, I went and got an x-ray and discovered that I did not break my tailbone, but it was severely bruised and inflamed. And I was told that they couldn't really do anything for it other than just tell me to take ibuprofen and to ice it hourly, and not to sit, and to lay on my sides and just rest and really not do anything. And I didn't know how to process that. I immediately fell into a depression. I stopped posting on social media. I started getting messages from my followers asking where I had gone, because I posted daily inspiration. And there was a night that I was getting ready for bed, and I was laying on my side in bed, and I started to feel this intense tingling down my right leg, and it started to get really weak, and I was getting some numbness in it. And I have a history of panic attacks, and over the last year I've mostly been able to get them under control, but this definitely triggered one of the worst panic attacks I've ever had. I just kept thinking, I'm going to be paralyzed, I'm going to be in a wheelchair. Like, my mind just took off in all these negative directions. So my husband literally had to like hold me and get me to breathe with him, and we did that for like half an hour. I was trying to get my breathing under control because I was hyperventilating. And then it was like midnight, and my husband took me out for a walk around the block in our neighborhood. And my husband's amazing. He's my rock. He's always been such a tremendous, amazing support system for me, and nothing can shake that man. So I started to calm down, and then the next day I went to the chiropractor, and I am so blessed to have a chiropractor that I've developed a personal relationship with. He's a friend of the family and that I trust. And he adjusted me, and he said that my sacrum was twisted to one side. And I've learned a lot about anatomy of the spine through this process. I am a seeker of knowledge. I've done a lot of research about anatomy in that area and what nerves and muscles and ligaments it's connected to. And I had no idea that the tailbone was connected to so many areas of our body. So he fixed my sacrum, he adjusted it, and the tingling in my right leg went away. And on and off, I still get a little bit of tingling, which he told me that's normal with this type of injury, and that it's important for me to be aware of the tightnesses in my glutes and in my hamstrings. So every night I've started rolling out with my yoga wheel, rolling out my glutes and my hamstrings, and continuing to ice it and do all the anti-inflammatory precautions. I've started taking a turmeric supplement, which is an anti-inflammatory. I don't have the best diet, so I'm working on incorporating more healthy anti-inflammatory foods into my diet. And I have not seen any improvement in my pain level. I mean, even right now, just sitting here and recording this video, it's painful on my tailbone. And I got one of these pillows. I have to sit on it so that my butt is in the back here, and this cutout is where I rest my tailbone, because if there is the slightest bit of pressure on my tailbone, it's like excruciating, like pinching nerve pain. So even if I sit for too long, I get very uncomfortable, and then it starts to flare up the rest of the day. I can't even lay on my back. I toss and turn in my sleep a lot, and so many nights I will roll over onto my back in my sleep, and then I'll wake up in pain. So I'm not sleeping well, and I've developed this terrible fear of not getting my life back. And this is an injury that is so slow healing, and it could be months to a year, if not longer, before I can get back to where I was. And I've gone through so many emotions of depression to frustration to denial to anger, and it happened overnight. And I finally did make a post on social media about what happened, and I got such a tremendous response from my followers and my family and friends. Just so many people sharing their own tailbone injury stories, and I was blown away at how common this injury is. And it was very comforting, but at the same time it was very overwhelming, and I didn't really know how to respond at first. It took me about a week later to finally respond. And even now still, I haven't made another post, because every time I open social media, I burst into tears because everybody that I follow are yoga enthusiasts and adventurers and waterfall chasers and hikers and hoopers and flow artists, and I get so sad that I can't do that right now. I feel like a cripple. It's heartbreaking. And Anyways, try not to cry. So where I'm at right now is I'm trying to go from the victim mentality to the empowerment mentality. And I'm starting to incorporate very gentle yoga stretches and movements into my daily routine, usually at night before I go to bed, because that's when I'm the most stiff and when I wake up. And at first I was very angry that I had ever even fallen in love with yoga. I wished that I had never started so that I wouldn't be as disappointed as I was that I couldn't do it anymore. And now I'm starting to recognize that maybe yoga came into my life when it did as a blessing, so that now I can use my passion for it and my knowledge to help heal myself through gentle yoga and breathing. So I hate having to take ibuprofen and Tylenol every day. I hate relying on pills to cover up my pain. And it's not good for your body to do that long term. So I've started to research and look into some holistic ways to heal myself, and I started this book, How to Heal Yourself, a total self-healing approach for mind, body, and spirit. And I would highly recommend this book because anybody has something they need to heal from, whether that be physical trauma, emotional, mental, spiritual, whatever. It's awesome. I've also started using doTERRA Deep Blue to rub on the area that's sore, on my glutes and on my tailbone, lower body area. It's similar to Icy Hot, but not quite as intense, and it doesn't have as many harmful chemicals in it. I've also been watching documentaries about sports injury healing stories, and there's one in particular that has really stood out to me. It's called Heal, and it pretty much just talks about how we have the power to heal our bodies, and you can do so by focusing on your body-mind connection. So I'm starting to turn a corner with going from the victim mentality to an empowerment mentality. And I'm also, one of the things that's helping me as I'm feeling deprived from my purpose of inspiring and encouraging people is creating this blog, in hopes that it will inspire and encourage somebody out there that is healing from a traumatic experience and needs someone to relate to as they go through all the emotions. I wish you all the best. Never take sitting for granted. I know I never will again. And I encourage you to move your bodies every day in whatever way feels good for you. And don't take that for granted. Rejoice in what your body is capable of doing. And I know that as I come out of this, I will have a whole new appreciation for my body and my moving meditation practices. And that's it.